Welcome back. You know us. It's Joe and Kevin McGonigal from DDS Match. We are back in the car, and the good news is Kevin almost has his driver's license, so he should be back in the driver's seat.
I passed the written test this week.
Yeah. He still has to do the parallel parking, which restricts most. So let's all wish Kevin good luck to get back in the driver's seat here. Anyway, today's topic, Kev, is contracts. Contracts are a part, not the contracts of the sale, but contracts in the practice that are a part of every transaction. So we talked about a couple that maybe we could touch base on real quick. I'll let you pick which one you want to take.
Yeah, first one would be vendor contracts. You know, everybody that you participate with in the daily operation of the practice. Some of them are easy to identify, you know, maybe Stericycle, or you get a water delivery. Could be your IT service. Often you'll find that there are prepaid contracts that you participate with. Some of them are maybe 1 year, could be as many as 3 to 5 years. You know, I think you've seen some that are out there. And what's important, especially if you're heading into a transition year, is to be familiar with the vendors that you are participating with and what would be required to get yourself out of that contract. How much notice do you need to give? What would be potentially passed on to a buyer? So that's what we are really trying to identify here. You know, Joe, what's some of the danger of maybe not being familiar with your contracts or letting one slip through the cracks?
Yeah, so in the sale contracts, there's going to be a section in there that talks about contracts. And the default position is that the buyer is not agreeing to assume any contracts of the practice. So when we say contract, we mean a service that cannot be canceled with 30 days notice. If you can cancel with 30 days notice, it's not a contract. Those are fine. So the default is the buyers aren't going to assume it unless, you know, we talk about the contract with the buyer, show it to them, present why it makes sense, and they might say, sure, I'll take, you know, that one and that one, but I'm not taking this last one. And so what happens then is the seller remains, you know, liable for that contract. Now, maybe you can get out of it with the vendor and say, hey, I sold my business. And the vendor says, sure, you know, okay, fine, we'll wrap things up. But, I mean, a lot of these contracts don't work that way. The vendor will say, well, you still have a year remaining. Sure, we'll let you out. You just have to pay us in one lump sum the remaining balance of the contract.
Yep. So that could be significant for sure.
Absolutely. So, to Kev's point, if you're heading into a transition year, being well aware of, A, what services are actual contracts, and really importantly, when do they renew and what are the terms around those renewals, and do they make sense to renew?
Right. And it might just help you be a little bit more organized with your business, which is something that we're always after as we help you, you know, get prepared and put together a transition plan. What's number two?
Number two, associate contracts. So if you have an associate or associates working in the practice, it is critical that they have written contracts, and more specifically, contracts with restrictive covenants in them, because, you know, buyers, whether they're going to, you know, if they're going to keep that associate, they want to make sure that they have, you know, they're already under a contract. So I don't have to, you know, now present a contract to an associate who's worked for 5 years on a handshake. But, you know, even more importantly, I guess, is if I'm going to buy your practice and I'm not going to have the associate continue, I don't want to be in a situation where they worked for you for 3-4 years, they've really gotten to know patients, they're very well liked, and now there's nothing stopping them from going across the street and opening their own practice.
And I'll just say, you know, we're not attorneys, but at the time of filming of this video, restrictive covenants are still enforceable and enforced. So,
but please consult with your attorney.
But I think, you know, again, some of the themes that run through these videos are mitigating risk, predictability, having a good handle on the vendor contracts associated with your business, making sure that your key team members, like associates, have contracts in place. It's all going to make your practice more marketable, easy to explain and understand, and ultimately just more predictable.
So let's just touch base real quick. If your associates are not on a contract, like, what do you do? They've been working with you for 3 or 4 years, and how do I present that to them? It could be a little tricky. So I think that one of the ways you can do that is, you know, again, you're probably seeing this video like near the beginning of the year. You could say, listen, I know we haven't worked, we haven't had a contract in place. This has been going great, but at this point, my advisor, or my attorney has recommended that we at least get something formally in place. That seems to make a lot of sense to me. I want to keep everything the same, in terms of compensation and everything else, and present them a contract. I mean, you're only going to know what's going to happen, once you present it to them. So, there's a way to do it tactfully. If you have questions or want to know how to do that, more efficiently, I mean, obviously you can consult with your attorney. You can certainly call us, and we're happy to walk you through how we might present that.
All right, so that's another video for us today. This is Joe and Kevin with DDS Match, and we'll see you again next time.
Thanks.